I've been playing RuneScape on and off for the past almost 20 years at this point. I started back in like 2006, back in like elementary school, when browser games were still the meta. There was stuff like Adventure Quest, Dragon Fable, fucking Club Penguin. You had Neopets, Webkins, like all that stuff going on. Fucking addicting games, mini clip. Like you get the idea. If you were there, you know, you know. But the thing about the RuneScape community in general, and why I wanted to highlight it specifically, is because the way that they've innovated with their content game is just so interesting to see. And I don't follow too many gaming communities, but at least for RuneScape, I feel like whenever I am stuck for an idea for like my TFT channel, I turn to either RuneScape or chess, and I started to think like, okay, like how have these guys have innovated the game? And I think RuneScape has done just such a fantastic job, and I really wanted to highlight it. But for you to understand where they are at now, you need to see where they started. And when RuneScape first started, it was sort of just whoever has fucking like what the hell was that? Whoever had unregistered Hypercam 2 and could just like record their monitor and then just commentate over it. That was like the meta back then. It still is now sometimes for some games whenever, you know, there's content first being produced for any type of game. But this was sort of like the beginning. This was nightmarerh back 13 years ago. I haven't heard this name in fucking years, but he just kind of like something clicked in the back of my head. I was like, oh yeah, I wonder whatever happened to that guy. But this was from 13 years ago, just to give you like a little bit of an idea as to like what the videos were like.
Oh my fucking god, time for a new video. Hooba hooba hubba hubba hubba.
Dude, like I haven't heard that in so fucking long. He used to start off all his videos like that, but holy fuck, this video was from 13 years ago. It's fucking 2011. Some of the more creative and artistic ones I guess back then were the RuneScape music videos. If you don't know what these are, it's basically like taking a song back when the copyright wasn't like so anal, if you will. You could just play any song in the background behind a video. It didn't really matter. So people would make their own like little music videos and just little flash epilepsy warning just in case it matters, because if I remember correctly, the edits are pretty flashy. But I remember watching these as a kid thinking like this shit was like the coolest shit ever, and thinking like I really want to do this, especially like getting like the air guitar emote that's in the game, because that was like in every single fucking music video. But this shit, looking back on now, it's like hella cringe, but it was the shit back then when you were a kid. Like, even if you look at the fucking views, this is from 15 years ago. This is from 2009, 235,000 views. And this was the shit. This is how you found new music back in the day. And RuneScape music videos are probably the reason why I fucking love pop punk so much. I have such a soft spot for it. But even then, like, again, just some of it as well is just like this is like the PKing stuff. Again, just commentary plus like gameplay. But you get the idea. But again, a little bit of creativity with the RuneScape music videos, but nothing that serious. But the first time I remember, at least for me, when there was sort of this little bit of an innovation, it's like, okay, where can we go with the content? Was actually taken from inspiration from Red vs. Blue. And Red vs. Blue, if you don't know, was a web series. I'm just gonna read like the first little bit of it because I've actually never watched it before, but I know it was based off of it. But it's just basically like taking like the Halo franchise and then just creating like a whole like storyline behind it by doing voiceovers over all of the other characters inside of the game. And it became super fucking popular back in the early 2000s. It became like this whole thing. I think Netflix had it at a certain point. It was like this whole like debacle. And RuneScape had its own little like mini series. I forget the original creator. It's not Shut Up Pillow Noob or whatever, but whoever made this, it was called RuneScape Gods Exposed, and this was sort of taking inspiration from the Red vs. Blue series, and we were sort of getting like, hey, like you can make like stories and videos and, you know, all this like goofy ass stuff, like role playing, like literally role playing, and making all of this interesting kind of wonky content and making stories out of it. And this was a big hit back in the day. This is actually a re-upload from 14 years ago. So this is actually even older than that. But this is just, I think this guy just like recorded all of them and then just kept it alive. This is actually from the original machinima.com. If you remember machinima back in like the Call of Duty 2 days, or not 2, sorry, Modern Warfare 2 days, or like COD 4, like that was like the big gaming channel back in the early 2000s. I don't even remember what really happened to machinima, but I remember I got picked up by it, and I remember the RuneScape community being like, holy shit, like Machinima picked up like a RuneScape like fucking series, you know? And this is sort of where it started to evolve, but nowadays it's really, really evolved. For example, you can find literally any type of content. I think Jimmy is one of my favorite content creators in the RuneScape community right now, where the dude is just making video essays just about fucking anything in the game. RuneScape and MMO Split in Half, this has fucking 819,000 views. It's uploaded 2 years ago. It's a like the banger video. If you've never played RuneScape in your life, you can still watch this video and be like, oh, like, wow, that's actually really cool. I had no idea. Basically talking about the history behind like RS3 and OSRS and how it basically split in half with EOC and etc. etc. You know, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go watch this video. I highly recommend it. Jimmy's just an absolute fantastic knob, but he just makes these stellar like video game essays and whatever, and they're sick. They're sick as fuck. They're great to listen to fall asleep to, but also just really cool content in general, which is in the RuneScape community. Settled. I feel like I can't go about talking about the evolution of content without bringing up Settled, who has single-handedly really changed the game, and you can't even deny it. The first real part of it being Swampletics. If you don't know, this was the first episode of Swampletics, to make you feel old, by the way. 2018 is when it was first uploaded. And what it is basically he took his account. If it dies once, the account's fucking over. And you can't, and there's some restrictions, and he basically locked himself. Just, you know, not like the game made it, but he by himself chose, hey, fuck it, I'm only going to be able to, you know, level up my account, progress my account in this one specific area, and then see how far I can go. And the first episode, again, released in 2018, 2 million views, by the way. This was such an insane series. And the finale was in 2021. So this was like a 3-year-long series. It was 2.5 million people watched the finale. So this was by itself, by the way, if you've never watched it before, like, even if you've never played the game before, if you have just like a basic understanding of it, really cool fucking game, really cool fucking series to watch. It was so amazing. And even now, he's doing some really incredible stuff with his, if I take 1 HP of damage, my account dies, which is like an insane series that he started as well. I don't think he has a name for it necessarily, but this is also like a banger series that he's been putting out, along with other stuff as well as Tileman, which was just another series, just really changing the fucking game, just taking the game at its core and then just breaking it up in a way that just restricts it, makes it harder, but it's unique. And that sort of weird, unique gameplay is what really evolved the sort of the flow of the game, if you will, which I thought was really interesting. I feel like we kind of see that with some communities, like with Pokemon and Nuzlocke mode, but outside of that, you don't hear about it too much. So I thought this was really, really cool. Or maybe like, I don't know, like Classic to Immortal in the Valorant community, but you get the idea. It's a really interesting spin, if you will, and I thought that shit was sick. There's also really just insane, just grindy, like, how the fuck did you do this type of content? Rendi is like the best example of this, and I apologize that the description wasn't very accurate, but basically, in the game, you start off with an account at level 3, and to do what he did in this game, which is basically achieve a fire cape, which is basically doing one of the original hardest challenges in the game. Nowadays, it's pretty piss easy for a lot of, you know, mid to high level accounts, but when you're first starting off, it's impossible. It's basically, well, it's not impossible anymore because this motherfucker somehow did it with a starter account, and this was absolutely fucking insane. Again, a really interesting way to spin content, just like how far can you take this game to its absolute extremes, and Rendi is just an incredible example of that. There's also stuff that's like really fucking just casual as fuck. Like this is probably my most favorite like casual RuneScape video in like a very long time that popped up and I recommended out of nowhere the other day. But this guy basically just created Poland Springs in RuneScape. I don't know how the fuck he did it, but basically this dude just creates Poland Spring in RuneScape, created his own water company, and then made money out of it somehow. I don't fucking I don't get it. Like it's so fucking ridiculous, but just the span and the variety of content throughout the years has been so refreshing, and it's always so interesting to see how RuneScape creators really change up the game. And now, finally, Sparcmac, which is what I really wanted to talk about, which is with his recent series, Gielinor Games. Gielinor Games, this is actually season 4, and I actually never watched the first 3 seasons. So season 4 was sort of the first time I ever really started watching it, but holy shit, it is so good. And just to give you the rundown, this is something I have never seen before in any gaming community, and I thought it was so interesting. But basically, not to spoil anything in the series, but the way that it's structured is it's basically like watching a reality TV show, like a 1-hour Netflix episode of a reality TV show. And what I mean by that is not just in the format of the series, but also in the way that it's produced. You get these like really interesting headshots of people just talking, like as if like you're watching somebody speak to the camera, sharing their opinion, right? He does the exact same thing here. There's a lot of B-roll, a lot of, you know, interesting overlays and things like popping up here and there. And it's really hard to describe just in words how incredibly refreshing this series is to see in the gaming space. And I would love to see much more of this in the gaming world because it's so new. It's such an interesting. It's really just taking shows that have worked tried and true in the past off of like an older medium, which is being television, and then trying to translate it into a YouTube medium through RuneScape of all fucking mediums, and then just making it this absolute banger series. And even if you've never watched, if you've never played RuneScape before, but you have like maybe you have like some level of understanding as to how the game works, you can watch a series like this, pick it up. I'm watching from season 4. I mean, been playing the game for a while, but I've never watched the previous seasons. But you don't even have to watch the previous seasons to watch this. It's almost like Terrace House. Like you don't have to know too much. I mean, maybe you have to know like a little bit of the Japanese culture. Like I don't fucking. This is a weird comparison, but you can just pick up any season. Is what I'm trying to get at, and just pick it up, start watching, and have a good time. And Gilmore Games, I thought this was so fucking fantastic, and I have been starting to recommend this series to like a lot of my friends too, who've never fucking touched the game, or maybe they played it a little bit in their childhood. It's so good. It's like that's how fucking good. I just cannot stop talking about it, and it's just words don't do it justice. And Soup, I just hats off to you, man. Like, this shit is fucking sick as hell. But I basically wanted to share my joy and like the watching just the evolution. And if you take it anything from this entire video, if you happen to manage to make it to the end, go watch Gilmore Games, man. Like this is not supposed to be some like one fucking like 10-minute long. I don't know how long I'm rambling for. Ad for the thing, but it's cool as fuck, man. Like a game show using RuneScape and like having these perspectives. It feels very professional, even though it's fucking RuneScape. Like I don't know, man. I don't know how to describe it. But anyways, really cool shit. And I love watching the RuneScape community evolve and shape up and change the way that gaming content is being created, because RuneScape really is doing the most out of everybody else, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they're going to be able to not only create their own iterations and versions of content, but also to see how other communities are going to take inspiration from it and then try to do their own spin on it. And I would love to see how that turns out in the future. So I'm just very excited. I think gaming content has an incredibly bright future, which is not something you hear every single day. But yeah, anyways, that's basically it for this video.